Okay, now we're back here at EU, and this is turn 10. We're going to see the Latins advancing forward technologically, but I came back because I forgot something last turn, really, which is there's an inflation step. Now, I've perhaps been cheating the whole game, if so, partially intentionally, which is, although I think for the first time, inflation it starts at 5%. And it's just kind of this mechanical annoyance at the beginning of the game to reduce everybody's income at the end of the turn, or everybody's funds at the end of the turn by 5%. In a solo game, it doesn't do a lot. And I think it's supposed to be set at that at the beginning of the game. But now that Spain has gold that they're importing, the marker has a possibility to rise, and it did at the end of the last turn. And that puts it at the 5% box. Anyone who's not exporting gold always pays one box less. So for this turn, Spain's going to pay the 5% that maybe everybody would have been paying before. But I've just kind of interpreted, as long as you're in this for this box and you're not exporting gold, you're going to be paying no inflation. Which I think is a actually specifically, not a misinterpretation, of a flagrant violation or ignoring of the rule. But it does make life a little easier for those early stages. Eventually, it can go up to what, 33%. So the money that you hold at the end of the turn carries over to being less. For this turn, it didn't hurt anybody too much because only Venice had any money. It hurt Venice a little bit, but we're talking only 5%. So it's not going to affect a lot. As it goes up, it becomes more important, and it's just interesting. I also did the ruler deaths. England's the only one who was affected by one. They got an unlucky roll. Nothing too terrible happened. They got, basically the king's brother took over. He's almost exactly the same ratings. One worse in, I think, admin, which kind of sucks. They've got the worst ruler on the board anyway, so, you know. It's still pretty bad. Okay, and I made it now through the events phase for this turn 10, 1535. Have some economic effects on everyone. A lot of people lost. A couple corruption and epidemics. England got an exceptional year that'll help make up for a bad leader, or a worse leader. The Mughals expanded into Bengal, and now are considered to control both of those. I believe that actually is going to put a Mughal trading fleet out here as well, now that they have a thing. I've got to look that up. We had a revolt in Milan, which will clear up at the end of the turn if nobody gets themselves involved in a war there. But here's the big one, the Schmalkaldic League. Now, in the original rules, this just created a weird and chaotic war that, I don't know if it meant a lot. In this, it creates something, the Risto events, it creates something a little bit more realistic. Let's go over what some of the effects of this are, because it's a couple of pages of event here. So, Hesse and Saxony are going to form a Protestant league. Now, Württemberg and Cologne, who are normally Catholic countries in the original game, now become Protestant. And this is realistic, but it's going to cause some real dancing around here. First of all, the markers indicate who's Protestant, who's Catholic. Well, they don't anymore. It used to be, Reformation happens, oh look, Scotland, everybody becomes Protestant who's going to become Protestant, and they stay that way unless maybe for the duration of a short event something else happens. Only the major powers have the kind of flexibility, and even they kind of have to choose once, unless somebody enforces them out. Well, you end up rolling a die. First of all, Cologne and Württemberg become Protestant. Württemberg joins the league. Württemberg will stop being Protestant at the end of the 30 Years' War, or at the beginning of the 30 Years' War, when the Schmalkaldic League actually falls apart automatically. Cologne will only stop being Protestant if the Schmalkaldic League is destroyed. Now, it's not necessarily hard to destroy. It's just a matter of, well, whose interest is it really in? Okay, let's see whose interested it is in. First of all the Protestants now roll a die. Hessen, Saxony, and Württemberg are automatic. But we added to that Berg, the Teutonic, so I'm not sure who they are. I thought it's the Latvians up here. What are they doing in it? Oh, they're not really part of the empire. But we'll throw them in because I don't know who else to call it. It's not Prussia. It's not. Well, I'll look up in the annexes. Maybe. I think that's actually, God damn it, covered somewhere. I'm hiding under here because I need the tables. Let's take a quick look. There's Latvia. Because maybe I have things set up poorly there. You know, I don't see any Teutonics. I'm not sure who they are. I think they're covered by Hansa, to tell you the truth. I'm not sure if Mecklenburg's theirs, or I may have set these up poorly. I think they're actually covered here by the Hansa. They'd be here in East Pomerania, and those definitely set up. So maybe there's a setup condition here. I'm going to just include them in Hansa, who happens to be part of this. Württemberg and Cologne. So we've got a small group of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, no, Cologne was... I crossed them off. They didn't get the roll. Okay, so we've got a small group of kind of otherwise weak miners belonging to this. Now, here's what kind of starts going weird. The emperor loses control of anything he had. So Württemberg left the Habsburgs, and the Spanish lost... what would happen if the emperor's a neutral? God, I don't know. The Spanish lost Saxony, which had been kind of an ally of theirs. Now, from there, they become, and I'm not going to go into every single rule here, but they become sort of their own little minor country. And I do want to look into these rules again. I just read them, but to try to decide if it's in the emperor's best interests to declare a war on them. If he does, and historically he did, it'll allow him to conquer some of these individually and knock them out of the war. And if he can get rid of, I don't know if it's Hesse and Saxony or Hesse or Saxony, knocked out of the war, the whole league collapses. Cologne becomes Catholic again. Is that a big deal? Not terribly. Cologne doesn't have a lot of troops, and it really doesn't mean much. But here's what the real thing is. It's a cheap war against weak miners. You don't always get a casus belli against these weaker miners. Now, they're not really entirely weak, but if you can overwhelm them, you can knock them out. And that's kind of an impressive situation. The other question is, could he do it with just his Habsburg forces? In which case, Spanish stability wouldn't be affected here. And I think the answer is yes, but I've got to kind of meditate on the rules a bit to get that idea in play. If it is, this is a more interesting scenario for him. At the very least, he does not want to bring Spain in with -3 stability at this point. And he wants to get some troops in the Netherlands to take advantage of the League's weaknesses and be able to strike, say, Hesse directly. Alright. Okay, so I'm halfway through the diplomatic phase of all things. Turkey is declaring war on Hungary. I set the Hungarians up. The Risto events make things odd. If this were the base game, Spain will have inherited Hungary at this point. This is 1535. That's the Louis of Hungary dies on last turn. I've taken him off the map already. Because he's gone, there's no one to rule. It should have fallen into the Habsburgs at this point. That doesn't really happen, though, it seems, in the Risto event. It specifies there will be a destabilization event before Bohemia and Hungary switch hands. I like that because it shakes things up a little bit. It could have happened right away, it could happen late, whatever. But it does leave kind of a question, as to, well, the base rules say 1535, but the Risto event specifies some apparent contradictions to what the base rules say in a way that makes me believe that you should be playing with them. But one of the contradictions has to do with Transylvania. Now, Transylvania historically, I believe, is this little segment here, which fought against the Turks for a while, and then I think at some times they were sort of a vassal of Turkey, but they maintained an independence throughout the entire period. The way the base rules are written, all of Hungary collapses if they're defeated by... Basically, if Turkey's able to defeat Hungary, what they're going to be doing is they either destroy the Turkish army, win a major victory, or take Buda. Any of those three will cause all of Hungary to collapse if the Habsburgs haven't inherited it yet. If they have, I think it kind of gets partitioned. If they do in the midst of the war or whatever. But here's the problem. I have no rules on Transylvania. They're not in the Risto event. They're not in the basic events. They're not in the first expansion. And I even looked in the second expansion a little bit more carefully than I have before. I kind of stepped away from it saying, well. And I see a lot of the things there made their way into EU8, and I'm kind of more understanding of EU8. I think if I read that, I'll have a better feel for the EU8 rules and maybe be able to tackle them again. But I'm stuck in this position where I don't know what to do, because I don't really have rules for Transylvania here. I don't have a counter for them. I don't have all kinds of stuff. They must have shown up somewhere. I thought I printed out all of the Risto event rules. They just seem to be events. Nothing special there. I don't know where they're coming from. I really don't. But what's kind of weird is the second expansion contains stuff that looks like it requires a new chart that I don't have for the political events table and stuff like that. So I just don't know how this all got put together and rectified. And I don't know how I'm going to handle it. But as of right now, two things are affecting Hungary. One, if they lose one of those things this turn, the army, a major battle, or Buda, they're out, and Turkey takes them over. Two, they're vulnerable to beasts until 1560, which means they suffer additional penalties. The only countries that don't are, I think, Genoa, Venice, the Mamluks, the Persians. But basically, the Turkish military system was a shock to the West when it hit, and this is meant to represent that. They didn't handle that against the Poles. That's a pity. The Turks probably could have actually gained some ground on Poland for that. Anyway, I'll go to the rest of the diplomacy. Some people may have enough money to be able to play in that world and have some interest in it. Thinking England's kind of low on money, but Venice has been playing pretty hard in it. We'll see. Well, trying to cut the video down a little bit here, because this seems to be a short term anyhow. We got the Spanish set out with their gold fleet, but they also dropped Coronado off to set something up. Now, they took some losses and lost about 18 gold for that, doing some additional exploring. They're going to try to keep this down to just paying 20 bucks in movement for this turn. They had to take a loan out again to place their colonies. A lot of the countries are finding their economies are kind of stretched. Turkey, for example. Oh, poor Turkey. But, you know, they're launching and positioning themselves. They took another loan out, trying to get that vice onto Hungary. No one else is really moving except Portugal, who also has 20 bucks to spend, basically. They're going to sail to try to drop an explorer, well, Albuquerque in this case, the conquistador, over in the Congo. If they can set up a here, if they can set up a trading post there, they'll have ports covering Africa to India, which is one of their victory conditions, I believe. Bad news for the Turks. This was a short round, or short turn. It only went 4 rounds. They managed to take Banat, but they didn't get really terrifically closer to Magyar, and now there's a risk again. Destabilization, they're at war with the Habsburgs and Hungary here. They're not going to be able to get the same situation. What they probably want to do is make a quick peace and try to get Banat off them, get them a space closer, and then declare war again. You can do that, and that would actually get them their quick advantage in the stability. So that's probably what they're going to aim for. I don't know how it's going to work out. Anyway, I've got all kind of bookkeeping and crap to do, and then I'll be back. Okay, and we push into the 1540 turn, and a lot of people are going to get technological improvements on this turn. Orientals, or sorry, Orthodox, Muslim, and C, which stands kind of for China, I guess, but it's really the rest of the world. When we start talking India, Japan, China, that's the table that they use. And I think it may be for the more important of the Indians as well, the American Indians, the Native Americans, if you prefer. Anyway, what happened? Well, there wasn't a lot that happened in the turn as a whole, but Turkey did manage to get their peace, and they got Banat, and that means they've got some stability. They didn't get to invest, but they got a bump for winning the war. You can see England and Venice got their stability up. Portugal couldn't raise its. France got a bonus due to they got a point that they rolled for and paid for, but they also got a point due to prosperity, I believe. And Turkey and Spain, well, Turkey got its bonus. Spain got to pay for theirs. Well, we're ready to roll into the next one. We did quite well on time on this one. This is kind of how I remember the game flowing when there isn't a huge effort of turns. Of course, it doesn't really help that I come in and babble for a while either. But, you know, I used to essentially enjoy the game without playing it for large periods of time anyway. So speaking is kind of just a piece of that. All right. I'm going to load this one up.